Have you ever been startled awake in the stillness of the night, particularly at 3 a.m.? It's an hour where the world seems to pause, a time when distractions fade and silence becomes your companion. For many, waking up at this sacred hour can feel like more than a coincidence. It feels like God Himself is reaching out, calling your spirit to listen. At 3 a.m., the world is blanketed in stillness. The noises of the day, the hum of traffic, the chatter of conversations, the distractions of technology fade into silence. This quiet, almost sacred hour offers a unique opportunity to step away from the chaos and busyness of life. Waking up at this time can feel unsettling at first, especially if it disrupts your sleep. However, when seen through a spiritual lens, it becomes clear that this is not just an accident or a product of restlessness. It is a divine moment, a gentle nudge from God to draw near to Him in a way that daily life rarely allows. In the quiet of the early morning, your mind is free from the clutter and noise of the day. The obligations that demand your attention, work, family responsibilities, are momentarily paused. It is in this pause, this stillness, that the voice of God can be most clearly heard. His whisper is not drowned out by the loudness of the world. He calls you to a time of communion, where the distractions of life no longer stand between you and Him. This hour is a gift, a sacred appointment that invites you into His presence. The stillness of 3 a.m. is not just physical, it is also emotional and spiritual. In the daytime, we often fill every moment with activity and noise, whether it's through conversations, tasks, or even the constant hum of social media. This noise can prevent us from truly hearing God. But at 3 a.m., when the world seems to stand still, we are given the chance to hear the still, small voice of God as He gently stirs our hearts. It is in these moments of quiet that He often speaks most profoundly, offering guidance, comfort, or even simply the reassurance of His presence. This time is especially powerful for reflection. In the middle of the night, when you are free from interruptions, you can examine your life with clarity. What are the things that are weighing on your heart? What are the decisions you've been wrestling with? What dreams or desires have you set aside? God may use this time to bring these questions to your attention, inviting you to reflect on where you are and where He is leading you. He may stir your spirit, urging you to consider how closely your life aligns with His purpose for you. This introspection is not meant to burden you, but to draw you closer to Him, to help you see the path He is laying before you. At 3 a.m., there is also an openness in your spirit that may not be present during the day. When you wake in the night, your defenses are lowered, and your heart is more sensitive to the gentle nudges of the divine. It is easier to tune into the spiritual realm, to sense God's presence, and to feel His love. In this state, you may find that prayers flow more freely, that gratitude rises unbidden, and that the weight of life's burdens feels lighter. This is a time when your soul can be refreshed and renewed in the stillness of His presence. In this quiet hour, God often draws us closer to Him, because He knows that we are finally in a place to listen. The distractions that usually compete for our attention are absent, and the stillness provides the perfect backdrop for intimacy with Him. Whether He is speaking through a thought, a feeling, or simply the peace that fills the room, this time is an invitation to rest in His presence and to know Him more deeply. This sacred moment is a reminder that God's timing is perfect. He knows when you need Him most, and He chooses the stillness of 3 a.m. because it is the perfect moment to meet with you. In that quiet hour, He calls you to pause, to listen, and to connect with Him in a way that the busyness of life rarely allows. It is an opportunity to embrace the stillness and to recognize that God is present, waiting to pour His love and guidance into your life. Waking up at 3 a.m. can often feel disorienting, especially if you are in the midst of a deep sleep. The stillness of the night can amplify the sense of solitude, and the world outside your window is silent, almost as if it has paused. Yet, this very quiet hour can be one of the most powerful and profound times to connect with God through prayer. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it can feel like a call to go deeper in your relationship with Him, an invitation to pray. Prayer is not just about speaking to God, but also about creating space to listen. At 3 a.m., when the world is still and your mind is uncluttered by the demands of the day, you are in the perfect position to engage in heartfelt conversation with your Creator. It is during these hours that you may find your prayers to be more genuine, more focused, and more intimate. The stillness of the night allows you to express your heart without the usual distractions of the daytime. For some, waking up at 3 a.m. is a prompt to intercede for others, praying on behalf of loved ones, friends, or even strangers who may be facing difficulties. God may awaken you in the night to put someone on your heart, to lift them up in prayer when they may be unaware of your support. In these moments, you become a vessel for God's compassion, offering prayer and petition for the needs of others. There is a unique power in intercession during the night hours, as it allows for deep connection with the needs of others, while being fully present in God's presence. The act of prayer at this time can also be a deeply personal practice. If you wake up feeling burdened by worries, fears, or uncertainties, prayer becomes the channel through which you can lay those concerns before God. In the quiet of 3 a.m., you are not distracted by your to-do list or external pressures. You are able to come before God with authenticity and vulnerability. You can pour out your heart, express your concerns, ask for guidance, or simply surrender your worries to Him. It's a moment of release, where God's peace can envelop you, and the weight of your burdens is lifted. At 3 a.m., there is a sense of urgency and intimacy that prayer can carry. It's as if God, in His infinite love and wisdom, is calling you to meet with Him in a quiet space where you are free to be open, honest, and undistracted. In these precious hours, you can engage in deep prayer, not just for yourself, but for the world around you. The stillness allows for reflection on the things that truly matter: your relationship with God, your purpose, your mission, and the spiritual needs of others. This time can also be an invitation to seek clarity for any challenges you may be facing, or to ask God to reveal His will for your life. Moreover, prayer at 3 a.m. offers a sense of intimacy that may be hard to find during the rush of the day. In a world where time is scarce, and we are constantly juggling responsibilities, the early morning hours present an opportunity to focus solely on God. There is no hurry, no need to check the clock or race through a prayer to get to the next task. The stillness and solitude invite you to slow down, to be present in the moment, and to savor the act of communion with God. This may not be a time for long-winded prayers, but rather for simple, heartfelt conversation with your Creator. It's also worth noting that 3 a.m. prayer may be more than just a time for personal requests or intercession. It can be a time for listening for God's voice, His guidance, or His comfort. Often we approach prayer with a list of things we want or need, but 3 a.m. can be a sacred time to simply sit in silence before God, waiting for His response. Sometimes the most powerful prayers are those spoken without words, those that allow the stillness to fill us with His presence and peace. In this quiet hour, God may speak directly to your heart, offering clarity, wisdom, or a deep sense of peace. Additionally, for those who struggle with anxiety or sleeplessness, waking at 3 a.m. can be an opportunity to replace restlessness with trust. When you feel the weight of the world on your shoulders in the middle of the night, prayer becomes a refuge, a place of safety and rest in the arms of God. It's in these moments that you can choose not to dwell on your fears or worries, but instead to place your trust in God's provision and care. As Philippians 4:6-7 reminds us, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Waking at 3 a.m. is not just a random occurrence, it is an opportunity for prayer, for intimacy with God, and for a deepening of your faith. Whether it's a time of intercession, a moment of personal surrender, or a quiet invitation to listen for God's voice, prayer at this hour becomes an act of faith, trust, and communion. God, in His infinite wisdom, knows that these quiet, still moments provide the perfect setting for a powerful connection with Him. When you find yourself awake at 3 a.m., it might feel like an unusual or inconvenient disruption to your sleep, but from a spiritual perspective, it can carry profound meaning. This early hour is often a time when God chooses to reveal something important to you, a moment when your heart and mind are most receptive to His guidance. Throughout history and in many spiritual teachings, the quiet of the night has been recognized as a time of revelation and divine communication. At this hour, God might be inviting you to receive insights, wisdom, or clarity about your life, your purpose, or decisions you've been grappling with. One reason this time is significant for revelation is the unique stillness that defines it. During the day, our minds are filled with countless thoughts, distractions, and external stimuli that can drown out the voice of God. At 3 a.m., however, the noise of the world is absent, and our minds are in a state of heightened quietness and focus. This makes it easier to discern subtle thoughts, feelings, or images that might otherwise go unnoticed. In this state of openness, God can communicate truths or directions that are clear and unambiguous. Often, waking at 3 a.m. can be accompanied by a sense of clarity or urgency about a particular thought or issue. Perhaps you suddenly recall a dream that felt significant, or you wake up with a strong feeling about a decision or situation in your life. These moments are not random, they can be a direct result of God impressing something on your heart. In Job 33:14-15, it says, "For God speaks in one way, and in two, though man does not perceive it. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls on men, while they slumber on their beds, then he opens the ears of men and terrifies them with warnings." This verse illustrates how God uses the stillness of the night to communicate with us when we are least distracted and most open to receiving his messages. Revelation at 3 a.m. is not limited to grand visions or earth-shattering truths. It can also come in the form of quiet nudges or subtle insights. You might feel an unexplained pull toward a certain action, like reaching out to someone, pursuing a specific goal, or reevaluating a decision you've made. God's revelations are often deeply personal, tailored to what you need at that moment. He knows your heart, your struggles, and your questions, and he uses this sacred time to offer guidance that resonates deeply with your soul. This time of revelation can also bring answers to prayers you've been making, sometimes without you even realizing it. Maybe you've been seeking clarity about a relationship, a career choice, or a spiritual path. At 3 a.m., when the noise of the world is stripped away, God may use this time to answer you in ways that become undeniably clear. A scripture might come to mind, a past conversation may suddenly hold new meaning, or an idea might surface that provides a solution you hadn't considered before. These moments of divine insight often feel like puzzle pieces falling into place, giving you the direction or peace you've been seeking. Another aspect of God's revelations at 3 a.m. is his ability to speak to us through our dreams. Dreams have been used throughout biblical history as a medium for divine communication. Joseph, Daniel, and others in Scripture received dreams that revealed God's plans, warnings, or promises. If you wake at 3 a.m. with a vivid dream lingering in your mind, it may be worth taking time to reflect on it, asking God for understanding and clarity about its meaning. Keeping a journal by your bedside can be helpful for capturing these thoughts or dreams before they fade, allowing you to revisit and pray over them later. Revelation during these quiet hours is not always about receiving answers. It can also be about deepening your relationship with God. Waking up at this time might be his way of drawing you closer to him, of inviting you into a space where you can hear his heart and experience his presence more intimately. Sometimes the revelation is not in the form of specific guidance, but in the profound realization that you are loved, seen, and valued by him. This awareness can be transformative, filling you with peace, purpose, and a renewed sense of trust in his plan for your life. For some, the revelations that come at 3 a.m. might initially seem small or unrelated to their immediate concerns, but over time, these moments often reveal themselves as significant. God's timing and perspective are infinite, and what feels like a minor insight now might become a cornerstone of understanding in the future. Trusting in the process and being willing to embrace these moments of revelation, even if their purpose isn't immediately clear, is an act of faith and surrender. Ultimately, waking up at 3 a.m. and experiencing God's revelations is a powerful reminder of his active presence in your life. It shows that he is near, that he cares deeply about you, and that he is constantly working to guide and nurture you. These moments are not interruptions to your rest, but divine invitations to rest more deeply in him and to align your life with his will. Recognizing the significance of these revelations can transform your perspective on waking at 3 a.m., turning it from an inconvenience into a sacred encounter with the Creator. Waking up at 3 a.m. can feel abrupt, even unsettling, but spiritually it can carry a deeper significance. Often this moment is a wake-up call, not just for your physical body, but for your soul. It is as though God is gently tapping you on the shoulder, inviting you to assess your life, reflect on your choices, and realign your spirit with his purpose for you. In the silence of the night, free from the distractions of the day, this awakening can become a profound moment of spiritual clarity and growth. Life has a way of pulling us into routines and patterns that over time can drift away from the divine path God has set for us. Without realizing it, we may become consumed by busyness, priorities that don't serve our higher calling, or even habits that hinder our spiritual growth. Waking up at 3 a.m. could be God's way of saying it's time to wake up, not just physically, but spiritually. It is an opportunity to pause and evaluate where you are in your journey with him. Are you living in alignment with his will, or have you strayed into paths that are less fulfilling, less meaningful, and less aligned with his purpose for you? This moment of spiritual awakening is not about condemnation or guilt. Rather, it is an act of love. God waits you to remind you of who you truly are, his beloved child with a unique mission and purpose. He calls you to examine your life not with shame, but with hope, encouraging you to make changes that will lead you closer to him and to the abundant life he desires for you. It is a wake-up call that inspires growth, transformation, and a renewed commitment to living with intention and faith. In these quiet hours, God may also draw your attention to areas of your life that need healing or restoration. Perhaps there is a broken relationship that weighs on your heart, unresolved forgiveness that has been holding you back, or a sense of emptiness from neglecting your spiritual life. At 3 a.m., when all is still, these things often come to the surface. This is not by accident, but by divine design. God uses this time to gently highlight the areas where He longs to bring wholeness and renewal. He doesn't do this to burden you, but to free you, to awaken your soul to the possibilities of forgiveness, reconciliation, and a deeper connection with Him. Another reason for this wake-up call is to reignite your sense of purpose. In the hustle of everyday life, it is easy to lose sight of the bigger picture: why you are here, what you are meant to do, and how you can serve God and others. Waking up at 3 a.m. can be a reminder to revisit these questions. Are you pursuing the dreams God has placed in your heart? Are you using your gifts and talents in ways that honor Him? Or have you settled into a routine that feels safe but lacks the vibrancy and fulfillment that comes from walking in your purpose? In this still moment, God calls you to reawaken your passion for the things that truly matter and to trust Him with the steps ahead. This spiritual wake-up call may also be an invitation to surrender. Sometimes waking up at 3 a.m. is not about action, but about letting go. It is a moment to release control, to lay your burdens at God's feet, and to trust that He is working in ways you cannot see. Life often feels overwhelming with countless decisions and uncertainties. But in the quiet of the night, God reminds you that you are not alone, that He is in control, and that you can find rest and peace in Him. This surrender is not a sign of weakness, but a recognition of His strength and sovereignty. For many, waking up at this hour also stirs a deep sense of longing for connection, meaning, and a closer relationship with God. This yearning is not something to suppress or ignore, it is a gift. It is God's way of drawing you to Him, of awakening your soul to the joy and fulfillment that only He can provide. In this longing, you find the motivation to seek Him more intentionally, to spend time in prayer, to read His Word, and to cultivate a relationship that sustains and empowers you. Finally, this wake-up call is a reminder of God's faithfulness. By waking you at 3 a.m., He demonstrates that He is always present, always attentive, and always ready to guide you. Even in the moments when you feel distant from Him or uncertain about your path, this awakening serves as a reassurance that He has not forgotten you. He is actively involved in your life, calling you to greater intimacy and purpose. This divine interruption is not a coincidence, but a testament to His love and desire for you to live a life that is rich in faith and aligned with His will. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it is more than just a physical awakening. It is a call to realign your spirit, to reflect on your journey, and to embrace the opportunities for growth and transformation that He is offering. It is a moment to listen, to surrender, and to trust that He is working all things for your good. Instead of resisting this interruption, lean into it with an open heart and a willingness to be guided by His hand. It is in these quiet, sacred moments that your soul can truly awaken to the fullness of God's love and purpose for your life. At 3 a.m., the world feels different. The quiet darkness offers a sense of stillness that can be deeply comforting yet profoundly introspective. When you find yourself waking at this time, it may feel puzzling or even inconvenient, but spiritually it can be a powerful moment for releasing burdens to God. The early hours of the morning provide a sacred opportunity to unburden your heart, release your anxieties, and experience the peace that comes from trusting God with your cares. It's not just a moment to lie awake in frustration, it's a moment to engage with God in a way that brings healing and renewal. Throughout the day, life moves quickly. Responsibilities, tasks, and worries often pile up, leaving little room for reflection or release. By the time you go to bed, your mind may still be racing, carrying the weight of unresolved fears, stresses, and to-do lists. Waking at 3 a.m. can feel like an interruption, but it's also an invitation, a moment when God gently reminds you that you don't have to carry these burdens alone. In the stillness of the night, He calls you to surrender your worries to Him, to let go of what's been weighing you down, and to trust in His ability to handle what you cannot. This release is not always easy. Humans have a natural tendency to hold on tightly to their worries, believing that by doing so, they can somehow maintain control over their lives. But control is often an illusion, and the burdens we carry are not meant to be shouldered alone. God, in His infinite love and wisdom, understands this. He wakes you up not to burden you further, but to remind you that He is there, ready to take the weight off your shoulders. He invites you to cast your anxieties on Him, As 1 Peter 5:7 encourages, cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. This is not just a promise, it's an active invitation to bring everything to him. Prayer. At 3 a.m., the distractions that usually cloud our ability to connect with God are stripped away. The quiet allows you to confront the deeper issues of your heart, the fears you've been avoiding, the unresolved grief, the lingering guilt, or the uncertainty about the future. In the stillness, you can approach God with complete honesty, laying everything before him without fear of judgment. He already knows what's in your heart, and this time is an opportunity to acknowledge it, release it, and find freedom in his grace. Releasing burdens to God at 3 a.m. is not just about letting go of negative emotions or fears, it's also about embracing his peace. God doesn't simply take away your worries, he replaces them with his assurance, comfort, and love. This exchange is one of the most beautiful aspects of surrendering to him. As Philippians 4:6-7 reminds us, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. This peace is not dependent on circumstances, it is a gift that comes from knowing God is in control. This sacred moment of release also deepens your relationship with God. Trusting him with your burdens is an act of faith, a recognition that he is capable of handling what you cannot. It's a step toward greater intimacy with him, as you acknowledge his sovereignty and care in your life. This act of surrender strengthens your spiritual connection, allowing you to rest not just physically but also spiritually in his presence. Furthermore, releasing burdens at 3 a.m. can bring clarity. When you surrender your fears and worries to God, you create space for him to speak to your heart. In the absence of anxiety, you may find that solutions or insights become clearer. God's guidance often flows most freely when we let go of the need to control and instead trust him to lead. This clarity can provide a renewed sense of purpose and direction, helping you face the challenges of life with confidence and peace. Waking at 3 a.m. and releasing burdens to God also aligns with the rhythm of renewal. Just as the night transitions into morning, your soul can transition from heaviness to lightness, from struggle to hope. This moment reminds you that God's mercies are new every morning. As Lamentations 3:22-23 declares, because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning, great is your faithfulness. In surrendering your worries, you prepare your heart to receive the newness and hope that God offers with each day. It's also important to remember that releasing burdens to God is not about denying the reality of your struggles or pretending that everything is fine. It's about choosing to trust in God's power, wisdom, and love, even when circumstances seem overwhelming. At 3 a.m., when the world is quiet and your heart is open, this trust can feel especially tangible. It's a time to remind yourself that you are not alone, that God sees and cares for you, and that his strength is made perfect in your weakness. Ultimately, waking up at 3 a.m. and releasing your burdens to God is an act of surrender, trust, and faith. It's a moment to let go of the things that weigh you down and to embrace the peace that comes from resting in his presence. Instead of viewing this awakening as an inconvenience, see it as an opportunity, a sacred pause, where you can experience God's love and grace in a profound and transformative way. Waking up at 3 a.m. is not just an interruption of sleep, it is often a sacred moment when God calls you to rest in his presence. This type of rest goes beyond physical relaxation. It is a spiritual, emotional, and mental reprieve that aligns your heart and soul with his peace. In the silence of the early morning, when the distractions of the day have faded, God invites you to experience a deeper, more profound kind of rest, a rest that only he can provide. This divine rest is about more than simply returning to sleep. While your body may crave the comfort of your bed, God's call to rest at 3 a.m. is often an invitation to find refuge in him. Life can be overwhelming, filled with responsibilities, worries, and pressures that drain your energy and steal your peace. God knows the burdens you carry, and he understands the toll they take on your mind and spirit. In waking you during this still, quiet hour, he offers you a chance to step away from the noise of your life and rest in his presence, finding a peace that transcends your circumstances. True rest in God begins with surrender. In these moments, he invites you to lay down your struggles, fears, and anxieties at his feet. This act of surrender is not always easy, especially when the mind is racing with concerns or unresolved emotions. But the beauty of God's rest is that it doesn't depend on you having everything figured out or fixed. He simply asks you to come to him as you are tired, burdened, or even broken, and allow him to renew your strength. As Matthew 11:28-29 reminds us, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. This rest is not passive. It's an active engagement with God's presence. At 3 a.m., when you sit in the stillness and invite Him into your heart, you may find that His peace washes over you in ways you cannot explain. This peace doesn't come from solving problems or fixing situations. It comes from knowing that you are held by a God who loves you and is in control. In these moments, you experience the promise of Psalm 46:10, "Be still, and know that I am God." The act of being still and resting in His presence can calm your spirit, ease your mind, and bring clarity to your thoughts. Resting in God at 3 a.m. can also be a time of renewal. While the world around you is quiet, your soul has the space to reconnect with its Creator. In the busyness of life, it's easy to feel spiritually depleted, like a well that has run dry. But in the stillness of the night, God offers to refill that well with His love, grace, and peace. This renewal isn't just about feeling better in the moment, it's about equipping you to face the challenges of the day ahead with faith and strength. Just as a good night's sleep restores your physical energy, resting in God restores your spiritual vitality. Another beautiful aspect of this divine rest is its power to shift your perspective. When you are awake at 3 a.m., it's often because your mind is wrestling with something: anxiety, uncertainty, or a sense of restlessness. These thoughts can feel all-consuming, but resting in God allows you to see your circumstances through His eyes. In His presence, you are reminded that you are not alone, that He is bigger than your problems, and that His plans for you are good. This perspective can bring a sense of hope and reassurance that quiets your fears and helps you trust in His timing and provision. This time of rest also creates a space for gratitude. When you pause to rest in God's presence, you become more aware of His goodness and faithfulness in your life. Even in the midst of challenges, there are countless reasons to be thankful: His protection, His guidance, His provision, and His unwavering love. Gratitude shifts your focus away from what is lacking or difficult and toward what is abundant and blessed. This shift not only brings peace, but also deepens your relationship with God, as you acknowledge His role as your provider and protector. It's important to remember that resting in God is not about achieving perfection or earning His peace. It's about simply being with Him, allowing His presence to renew and restore you. At 3 a.m., when the world is quiet and your heart is open, this rest becomes a sacred exchange. You give Him your worries, and He gives you His peace. You bring Him your weariness, and He gives you His strength. Ultimately, waking up at 3 a.m. is an invitation to experience the kind of rest that only God can provide. It's a reminder that His peace is always available to you, no matter the time of day or the circumstances of your life. By embracing this moment of stillness and surrender, you can find the strength, clarity, and renewal you need to move forward with confidence and faith. Instead of viewing this awakening as a disruption, see it as a divine gift, a chance to step into the quiet arms of your Creator and experience the fullness of His love and peace. Waking up at 3 a.m. can feel like an inconvenience, but it often carries a profound spiritual significance. It is a sacred invitation from God to connect deeply with Him, whether through prayer, reflection, or surrender. These moments are not random, they are divine opportunities for revelation, realignment, and renewal. God uses this still hour to awaken your soul, speak wisdom into your heart, and remind you of His presence in your life. It's a time to release burdens, find rest in Him, and receive His peace and clarity. Rather than resisting these awakenings, embrace them as a gift, a chance to step away from life's distractions and align your spirit with God's purpose. Through these encounters, He offers guidance, comfort, and a deeper relationship with Him. Waking at 3 a.m. is not just a disruption, it's a divine whisper, calling you to trust, grow, and rest in His unfailing love.